The game that Putin's been playing is about to change. He's going to be hit and hit hard by the United States.
These people will not give up. These sick, twisted people will not give up, trying to push us into a nuclear war with Russia. It's almost like they live in a bubble completely devoid of any kind of reason or logic. Like if you and I were talking to them, we would be shocked and appalled at how they think and act. Right now, we are entering the most dangerous moment of this war right now, and we have some huge new developments over the past 24 and 48 hours. So we're going to get to all of these updates here in a moment. But first, let's talk about what's happening right now with Russia. Overnight, Russia's 44th Army Corps pounded Ukrainian positions with a coordinated and a devastating barrage of drone and artillery strikes. Entire units were driven back from their positions near the Russian border. And overnight, what's being called the largest single-day attack on Russia since the start of the war, Ukraine, along with NATO intelligence, launched a massive drone operation using AI to target and pinpoint Russia's nuclear bomber fleet. Yes, a direct hit on Russia's nuclear fleet. And reports suggest Putin has launched a nuclear doomsday bomber. I mean, are these people insane? They're attacking the largest nuclear power in the world. And yes, NATO did all the coordination and, according to reports, 18 months of planning to pull this off.
That is some news emerging that the Ukrainians think that they have inflicted some significant damage on Russian bombers.
Ukrainians, meanwhile, fed up with Zelensky's conscription goons over the past 48 hours, they're fighting back. These guys tried to throw another young man into the meat grinder, but Ukrainians have had enough. They attacked the goons, slashed their tires. We saw these videos before where group of moms came together and started beating the crap out of these Ukrainian conscription goons. And we learned this week, that those goons are getting between $100 and $500 per civilian that they round up and throw into their truck in order to die in this war. So their life is worth at most $500 US. It's disgusting. And in a move that sends a clear message about the consequences of provoking Moscow, Russia also targeted major food and grain facilities overnight, crippling Ukraine's already fragile export infrastructure. Meanwhile, instead of pursuing peace, Ukraine is doubling down on escalation by targeting civilians. Yes, killing civilians. Just look at this report from Ryelsk, where Ukrainian forces launch strikes that hit residential homes, civilians being caught in the crossfire every day. Why? Because Washington won't stop pouring gasoline on this fire. And then last night, multiple agencies say a bomb went off, striking a civilian train in Russia, killing at least 7 as of this recording. 7 civilians, injuring 28 people. Eyewitnesses say an explosion went off, bringing down the train as it was about to pass. I don't believe in coincidences. The moment this train is moving overhead, boom, this explosion goes off. Multiple agencies say this was sabotage, clearly. And as this whole thing escalates right now, guess who's missing in action? President Donald Trump. Not because he's unwilling. He wanted to be the peace president. I'm not sure exactly what happened. But because his own advisors and so-called allies aren't telling him what's really happening. A reporter asked Trump this week about Russia's retaliation for Ukraine's recent failed assassination attempt on Vladimir Putin. The reporter referenced the failed strike on Putin's helicopter, an attempted decapitation of a world leader, arguably probably the most powerful man in the world. Trump looked confused, like he had no idea what they were talking about.
Can I follow up on that? A Russian commander reportedly said that Putin was almost caught in the middle of a drone attack from Ukraine. So do you have any...
I haven't heard that, but maybe that would be a reason. I don't know, but I have not heard that.
And even after that incident, he was asked about it again and still didn't seem to know what was going on.
I have gotten to see things that I was very surprised at. Rockets being shot into cities like Kiev during a negotiation that I felt was maybe very close to ending. We were going to solve a problem, and then all of a sudden rockets got shot into a couple of cities and people died. I saw things that I was surprised at. So, and I don't like being surprised.
This is all so strange. So the question is, which neocons are hiding vital information from President Trump? Why is the president being kept in the dark as Europe teeters on the edge of nuclear catastrophe?
The United States and NATO, we do not care how many Ukrainians die. Not civilians, not women, not children, not soldiers. We do not care. I don't think Ukraine has anything to do with the decision about peace or war. I think the decision about peace or war is made in Washington, D.C.
And why did NATO target Putin last week? As we reported on Redacted, Ukraine can't hit the broadside of a barn without NATO targeting and telemetry. NATO tried to assassinate Putin last week, plain and simple. Why did they do that? Remember, Ukraine admitted that when Trump shut down all of their intelligence gathering and targeting, they couldn't do anything. They were sitting ducks. So they couldn't have hit Putin without NATO's help. So the answer might lie with swamp creatures like Senator Lindsey Graham, who just gave up the charade. Graham says, quote, "Enough is enough. Peace talks have failed. It's time to act." He's pushing his anti-Russian sanctions bill next week and says Putin's going to be hit hard by the United States.
The game that Putin's been playing is about to change. He's going to be hit and hit hard by the United States when it comes to sanctions.
And these sanctions will cripple his economy. They will be bone-crushing to a nation that is basically, as one of our colleagues once said, a gas station with nuclear arms.
This bill is a ticking economic time bomb, not for Russia, but for us. Remember, we've already levied incredible amounts of sanctions on Russia. And what has it done? It's brought them closer to China. It's expanded the BRICS nations by a landslide. The dumping of U.S. currency, the driving of the U.S. dollar right into the toilet, that's what it's done. Widespread inflation all across the United States. Hello, do you remember the last 4 years? So get this, Lindsey Graham wants to impose wide-ranging sanctions in response to the Afghanistan withdrawal. Yeah, you heard that right. A bill that was supposed to punish the Pentagon for abandoning Americans is now being repurposed to launch economic warfare on Russia. Why? Because the military-industrial complex needs this enemy now that we're not in Afghanistan anymore. And Russia, of course, fits the bill perfectly. But the joke's on us. Just look at the U.S. dollar. Over the past 48 hours, the dollar plunged to its lowest levels in 3 years. These reckless sanctions are backfiring. Instead of collapsing Russia's economy, they're wrecking our own. And Putin? He's sitting back watching NATO collapse under the weight of its own arrogance. Even Germany's own finance minister, Christian Lindner, had started telling the truth. He says a defeat of Russia is impossible. Let that sink in. A top NATO official from one of NATO's most powerful economies just admitted that this war is unwinnable. And yet we're still shipping weapons, draining our economy, letting neocons like Lindsey Graham, Victoria Nuland still call the shots. They're running the show, and they want war, and they will do everything they can to prevent President Trump from pushing for peace. These are the same people who launched a coup in Ukraine in 2014, who spent years lying to the American people about Russia, who censored dissent during COVID. And now they're dragging us into the most dangerous conflict of our lifetime. Heck, China on Friday called it out, saying the United States is solely responsible for the war in Ukraine. Here's China.
The United States bears a major responsibility for the outbreak of the war and the continuation of the war.
And where's NATO in all of this? Of course, egging it on, attacking Putin's helicopter trip last week, trying to assassinate him. Where's the EU? Talking about troop deployments. Britain, they're sending long-range missiles right now. The West is running out of a runway right now. And we're being lied to by a media that treats war like it's a Marvel movie. It's so fun. Millions of people die. It's fun for their ratings. So here's the truth. This isn't about stopping Russia. This is about laundering money. It's about hiding corruption and controlling power. And they're willing to burn the world down in order to keep their grip on it. Lindsey Graham makes a shit ton of money from defense contractors. Trump better get his act together real fast. Fire these neocons running his administration. That's my point.